I want to bring in, if I can, Vinoo Varghese as an attorney. You know, looking through all of this, Vinoo, I'm not surprised there's a $2.5 million settlement in this case. I actually think it should have been more, given what they went through. But I also want to ask you a little bit about the charging. Sure. He went away for 40 years on a federal kidnapping charge. No rape. There's no rape charge here. Couldn't the state come back and say, we're going to double down and we're going to go after you for rape and kidnapping on a state level, just as an insurance policy?
They can, but I'm not sure they should. There's a doctrine called separate sovereign. So if you remember the Rodney King case, he was acquitted. The cops were acquitted in state court, and then they were convicted in federal court. The reverse can happen here, right? He's been convicted in federal court. He could still be prosecuted in state court. But the question is, why would the state want to do it? Because
how about if he gets off on a technicality on appeal? I guess you can't appeal if you make an agreement, right?
Unless
plea deal means no appeal.
Generally, but unless there's something in the plea deal that the lawyers did something wrong or he wasn't properly advised of his rights. But the issue is, are they really going to put this girl on the stand? Because if they're going to bring a case, she's going to have to testify. He could sit back, not do anything, but it'll make her relive it and then be subject to cross-examination.
Let's just remind everybody, as if this case weren't extraordinary enough, he's a Harvard lawyer, this criminal. He's a Harvard lawyer and a Marine. It is just unbelievable that this happened in such a way, and that the cast of characters, I'll tell you what, I hate to say it's made for TV, but it is. In fact, 2020 special about Denise Huskins and Aaron Quinn's Gone Girl nightmare is airing tomorrow night on ABC at 10 o'clock Eastern, so I encourage you to check that out. Defense attorney Vinoo Varghese joins me live again. I don't even know where to begin other than, does she have any defense? It's on tape.
Look, the first thing I would do as her lawyer, if I were her lawyer, is to have her examined. See what her psychological state was.
Who cares what her psychological state was? That child had pot coming out of its nose.
I think it's critical. I mean, you have to take a look at this woman and figure out what caused her to do this, assuming it's her, right? So the first thing, obviously, as a lawyer, you'd explore to see if there's any way to show that it wasn't her on the tape. But it is her account. You know, they'll probably do some kind of hand analysis.
I just feel like anytime we see a parent that does this, that parent should have the book thrown at them. And I'll tell you what, the reason I say it is because this is not the first time we've seen videos like this on Facebook. Take a look at what we've been able to scrounge up just from going through our archives today. Have a look.
The cell phone video is pretty hard to watch.
Jessica even blew marijuana smoke in the baby's mouth.
Video of a Centralia mother having her 22-month-old boy take a hit off her marijuana bong.
Watch as the 2-year-old squirms and tries to escape, but the man repeatedly tries to put a marijuana pipe in the toddler's mouth.
Video of her teaching her 2-year-old how to smoke pot.
This little boy is just 2 years old, and yes, he is smoking a cigar. Not just any cigar. Police say it's pot.
I can't believe we have this much evidence just after a quick look at our records. But this is why I sort of say, you think it's good enough to put, you think it's funny to put on Facebook. Could she possibly have not thought it was wrong, and would that have mattered?
I think that goes right to the heart of why she should be examined, because if this woman is so strange, or maybe as the term is evil, to put this on Facebook. The question, though, is if you look at the baby, the baby looks like he's done this before.
It's not the first time. You know what? I'm glad you noticed that, honestly, because most people who take their first inhale cough violently.
Absolutely.
That 1-year-old baby has, it's an inhale and an exhale, and it doesn't seem to be uncomfortable or difficult. The baby also knows to put its lips around the cigarette. Vinoo, I got to stop talking about it, or my head's going to pop right off my shoulders. Thank you for that. Stick around, if you will. But I do want to bring in Vinoo Varghese, our defense attorney, because there are a couple of things that are on tape but haven't yet been sort of released and into the hands of the public. I'm assuming they will be, given that we're at trial. But the hitman, which is cops, apparently got on tape a conversation about how Megan should be killed, right? And Dr. Jacob allegedly tells the hitman cop that, listen, if this is tough, I'll do it myself. I'm a doctor, so I'd use potassium chloride, and it would stop her heart, and it would be untraceable. That's the kind of, in your line of work, that's usually called bad facts. Real hard to get over. How do you get over that kind of stuff, especially when there's tape?
Well, I think you have to look at the entire tape, right? So it's possible during the defense here could be potentially entrapment. And that's a tough defense, right? So you have to show that his will was overborne. So we got to look at the tape and see how much he was being led. He may have said a bunch of bad things, but what was being said before this?
But how do you entrap a guy who's a doctor who's suggesting, hey, you know what, if it's hard, I can do the job myself, potassium chloride?
He may be looking for a more humane way of ending it. All I'm saying is...
Oh, dear God, that's even worse fact.
All I'm saying is I'm not saying it's a good set of facts, but I think it's something that his lawyers, it looks like they have a tough client.
Yeah, boy, do they ever. They got a tough client, they got a tough case. But you know what? They got that case, they got to fight it. My thanks to all of you. I really appreciate that. And again, I think we can all laugh through it a little bit because, as you said, Rachel, nobody died. My thanks to Rachel Stockman, Steve Moore, and also Vinoo Varghese.